So here are some common pitfalls in rental real estate that I see people do time and time again. And I thought I'd share a few of my thoughts on these and hopefully it'll help some people out. Number one is I am shocked on the tenant screening and how inadequate a lot of the tenant screening is that people do, especially on the self-managing side. And a lot of times they want to meet them and talk to them, and they get sucked up into their story more than they are sticking to guidelines and making sure that these people are qualified. There's quite often you'll see on especially Facebook posts, things like that, that are doing rental properties that a tenant's looking for a property and they specifically ask that I want a private landlord. The reason why they want a private landlord, not all the time, but most of the time, is because they can't qualify with a professional management company. And they want to tell somebody their bleeding heart story. And they want somebody to buy into that and everything. I get everybody needs a second chance. A lot of PMs have programs for people with second chances, but you need to make sure that these people are screened and they're not just giving you a sales pitch and trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Number two is just underestimating expenses. So whether that's ongoing maintenance, capital improvements, planning for a roof, planning for a furnace to go out, you can plan, and have some guidelines in place for reserves, things of that nature, to make sure that when an unexpected thing happens, that you're prepared for it. Because I guarantee what will happen is that it'll happen at the worst possible time. The furnace is going to go out when it's 20 below zero and some cold freeze that we have, and you're going to have to come up with $5,000, $3,000, whatever it is, to replace, put a new furnace in. Make sure that you're, have those things budgeted, some reserves put aside, or ways to at least pay for those kind of things. Number three is over leveraging. There's nothing the matter with being aggressive. There's nothing the matter with, using debt to buy real estate. That's the beauty of real estate, is being able to leverage. But if you get too aggressive in it and you over leverage, it could be dangerous. Rental real estate, even if you buy it no money down, can turn into be a cash cow. And on a temporary basis, hopefully on a temporary basis if you bought it correctly. And if you're over leveraged, it is a recipe for disaster. And ignoring market research sort of goes hand in hand with that. So often I hear, well, this is where the market's headed right now. But, if interest rates come down and if prices continue to go up, or if rental rates continue to go up, this is a great deal. That's not investing, that's speculation. So don't ignore the market research. Invest. If it makes sense today in this market, it's probably safe to move forward. If it gets better and interest rates go down, fantastic. It's even a better deal now. Prices go up, rental rates go up, great. But it's not always going to be like that. You have to make sure you understand what the market's doing right now. Number five, I would say, is have a great lease. So we spend a lot of time reviewing our lease. We redo it. I shouldn't say redo it. We add to it a couple times a year. We review it once a year with our attorney as well. But you have to have a great lease in place. Every time you find a hole in the lease, you need to change it. If a situation pops up that is not explicitly says exactly how that situation will be handled, that needs to be added to the lease, so there's no doubt on what the expectation is of the tenant. Another thing is just neglecting property maintenance. I know everybody wants the cash flow on these things, and sometimes money gets tight, whatever, but neglecting property maintenance, it leads to tenant turnover, it leads to frustrated tenants. It usually leads to more expensive repairs in the future. So it's definitely something you need to avoid. Overestimating rental income. We get this a lot, where, I know all the houses on the block and in the area are renting for $1,200, but mine's special and it should rent for $1,300 or $1,400 or whatever. Sometimes that is the case. Sometimes, maybe you have additional square footage or a basement or, a big garage or, something where it might get a little bit, more money than the average house in the area. But quite often, if everything's renting around $1,200, $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, it doesn't matter the dollar amount, that is going to be the range you're sitting in. Try to underestimate. What if the market shifts? The rental market is probably about a 2-week market. It changes about every 2 weeks. Very seasonal. School's a huge deal. So the market can change very, very quickly on you. And you need to make sure that you're not overestimating on what this place will actually run for. So another thing is inadequate insurance coverage. Depending on how big your portfolio is, whether it's just a single unit, just making sure you have the right insurance. As you get bigger, umbrella policies, different liability policies are definitely something that I would highly recommend. But quite often, I see people that are way underinsured, and that's your first line of defense in any kind of problem. And the second part of that is making sure that the tenant is insured, and they have a liability policy as well. Very, very important to help protect yourself. Just poor property management in general. Now, this could be operational if you're, self-managing, or if you have a property manager that's not doing their job. Huge problem where, tenants in general, good tenants are usually pretty simple. They want to be left alone. They want to have a nice place. And if there's a concern, they want a quick response. If it's maintenance, if they have a question, whatever it is, they want somebody to get back to them in a reasonable, period of time. And not doing that, not handling repairs, not handling their concerns leads to turnover. And turnover is what kills rental properties. And the last thing I would say is probably ignoring legal and regulatory requirements, I guess would be say. So, legal things, how you handle security deposits, how quickly you handle an emergency maintenance call. Regulatory could be, from fair housing to rental registrations, whatever it is. You really need to understand and make sure that you're abiding by all those things. So hopefully that'll help so you can avoid some of these things and avoid a few headaches in the future.